Yes, folks, welcome to Beyond the Pitch. Joined here, of course, once again with the magnificent Ian Joy. Second show here on our Kiss Me channel. Thanks very much for joining us. So much to get through here, Ian, mate. We talk about the situation with Wayne Rooney, which is making big headlines in Manchester United, of course, across the water at the moment. And then we'll talk about a number of the fixtures that are coming up. We'll talk about Dortmund, Bayern Munich. We'll talk about Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid. We'll talk about United, Arsenal. All the big games that are coming up this weekend.
Yeah,
So, how's things with you?
very good. Thank you very much. I have to say, Phil, we got a terrific response
Yep.
from everyone on social media who I love the response. I love the fact that people are reaching out. They listened to the show. They enjoyed the show. And this is just the beginning. We got a lot planned for this show and where we're going with Kisway. A big opportunity for us to get into the market and really produce a great show and give the people what they're wanting. And so far, for episode one of the new generation, we've had a great response. So we keep on bringing it, and we know that people will keep on watching it and enjoying it.
Yes, just to echo that, thanks for all your comments, all your feedback, everything. Keep that coming because
Yep.
as these shows go on, we'll start integrating more and more feedback from the audience. Ian, first things first, I want to talk about the Rooney situation because if you know,
Rooney.
I'm going to come at this in a number of angles. I want to ask you as an ex-player, you've been in these situations where you're under enormous pressure to perform, and you've got the media spotlight. I don't know, maybe it's a lonely place, but
hmm
I look at Wayne Rooney, and I've a couple of arguments on this. First of all, I want to get the defence of Wayne Rooney out of the way because it's not all negative.
Right.
Wayne Rooney is not a role model to your kids. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired of the
As a
cliches.
footballer.
As a footballer,
Yeah.
that's different. I'm sick
Right.
and tired of all these these people out there that Rooney's a role model. Rooney needs to behave. Even in his statement, I'm sick. I'm sorry that the kids saw these pictures. Wise up.
Yeah.
If Wayne Rooney is a social role model to your kids, you're failing as a parent. Wayne Rooney doesn't owe that to your kids. Wayne Rooney is a magnificent football player, was a magnificent football player,
Right.
regardless, that's up for debate. But,
Well, fill everybody in with what happened first. Tell the story
okay,
as to what happened, why it made the headlines, so that everybody understands what we're talking about.
fair enough. So what happened was Rooney was caught drinking. He, was- all right, let me back up. He's wearing England duty. He's England captain because this needs context. He's England captain.
Yeah.
Uh, they're given the day off. He goes to a wedding inside this hotel, gets drunk, and from what I understand, he was told to go to bed about 9, 10 o'clock. Defied those orders, went back to the party, drank. Now, the reason why context is needed in this, Ian, is Wayne Rooney did an interview a couple of months ago where he invited all the press
Yeah.
into a luncheon, and in that luncheon, he talked extensively about the responsibilities of being captain, about respecting England and respecting the fact that players should be entitled to a day off but trusted with that day off. And
Right.
now, what you've done and what Rooney has done is shown that players can't be trusted. You have to treat them like kids. You have to keep
So what did
a
he do
rein on them.
wrong, Phil? Tell me exactly what you think Wayne Rooney did wrong.
Well, what he did wrong was, first of all, he defied the order of to go to bed. He's behaved in a manner that doesn't set an example for the rest of his England teammates. Now, he's an experienced player. He's 31. He's England captain. That's a young England team to look up to him. He has
Right.
to lead by example. And Ian, we know English players and the English national team are trying to shake a reputation of boozers. It's followed them for years.
Sure.
And so I agree with Jurgen Klopp that this is the most professional group of players of any generation, but
hmm
this doesn't help the image. Lastly, Rooney is in the worst form of his career. He's in a terrible position right now with Manchester United. The media are starting to turn on him, and it's not that the timing of it is what is really the worst part of this.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, this is the last thing that Wayne Rooney needs right now is pressure from the media, pressure from Mourinho, pressure from Manchester United, from Gareth Southgate, from all angles. He's receiving this pressure for his performances and what he's done off the field. I think Wayne Rooney on the field right now is feeling the pressure that his performances are suffering. He's not getting the same performance or result that everybody expects him to do, and his career's going backwards. It's slowing down, not necessarily backwards because he's done so much. He's just getting older, and it's starting to slow down for him, the success on the field. Let's not forget that this is the England captain. Let's not forget that this guy is a world-class player. He was absolutely fantastic in his prime. Yes, was. And it's different generation now from what we've seen 30, 40 years ago. I think that Wayne Rooney is a part of this new generation of players that are more professional, that they are more fit, they are obviously demanding more pressure because they're earning higher salaries. And I think he's dealt with it pretty well. The fact that he got caught drinking later on and defied the order of the England coach when he's not playing in the next game after an injury doesn't really bother me too much. Now, there might be a deeper story into this, Phil, and you might be able to tell me more about this, that he may have an issue with alcoholism or potentially drinking a little bit too much. But from what I see from Wayne Rooney and what I see from this generation, like what Jurgen Klopp said, this is the best and most professional generation we've ever seen in the game. And I 100% agree with that. But I do have to say that the generation we have right now, there's too much pressure, there's too much media, cell phones are easy to pick out. This was obviously caught from someone who was at the wedding that took a photograph of Wayne Rooney, and he did. He looked wasted. He looked like he was having a great time. I wish I was sitting next to him. Doesn't. He looked like he was having a great time. But this is what today's generation is experiencing. Too much pressure. There's not enough opportunity for these players to let loose out on the town, have some fun. That's what you need sometimes now and again. Wayne Rooney certainly needed to let loose. All the pressure with his performances, and just after a great performance against Scotland, he needed to let loose, and I don't blame him at all for going out and having a few drinks. Back in my day when I played and I enjoyed a drink, I could stay out as long as I want, and the next day I could go to training like there wasn't an issue. Many players can, today's generation can't. Wayne Rooney seems to be able to do it. That brings him maybe another problem.
But does he seem to be able to do it? Because when you look at his form, you could argue otherwise. Here's the thing. Within the context of what you've just said, I agree with you. If it's just a one-off incident where Rooney goes out, blows off some steam, gets drunk, we're all human at the end of the day, and any human being, if you had your life where someone followed you 24/7 with a camera, we'd all have moments that we weren't perfect. So I'm completely empathic to that. And at the end of the day, he's a human being. Here's the thing, and Rooney and every footballer knows this. When you play for the biggest football club in the world and you're a captain, there's a certain responsibility expected of you. Now, if you look at the media have written this week that this is not a one-off occurrence. Many, many, many times, Neil Ashton, who now works for The Sun, previously Daily Mail, said, oftentimes you'll see Wayne Rooney up in the bar 4 or 5 in the morning, drinking red wine,
Often.
And yes, saying this is the
but
stuff
you know
that
what,
he's seen in
Phil,
England teams for years.
I need evidence on that though, Phil. You know, like it's okay for was it Neil Ashton who said that from The Sun? Who is it that said that?
Neil Ashton.
Yeah, so he said
it's a libelous allegation, and I would imagine it's something.
It's not good that someone's saying that about you, but let's face it, this is the England captain. He's coming to the end of his career. The pressure is on him at Manchester United. The kid is allowed to let loose. He's allowed to have a life off the field. This generation of players, from what we have experienced, don't have the opportunity to be able to switch off. What are they supposed to do after every game? Go home and sit at home and drink in their house? They've got to have an opportunity to get away, Phil, and enjoy themselves. Maybe not in England, do they? But they definitely need that opportunity at some place along the line where they can just switch off from the game, switch off from the media, not worry about someone writing stories about them. Today's generation, we've mentioned it time and time again, the generation, they're under too much pressure. They're under so much pressure. They're earning too much money. All of the eyes are looking on them. I feel sorry for them.
Listen, that's a part of the life I don't envy because they're still young lads. But let's use Rooney's own words, right? We'll move on from this point. Rooney's own words in his book in 2009 wrote about when he came back from pre-season, and it was a European Championship year. The book was written in 2009, and he was referring to another year. He came back, and the club he was saying didn't mind if he put on a few extra pounds, and Rooney put on a lot of weight, and Rooney puts it on easily, by his own admission,
Right.
and Ferguson went nuts. Um, Ferguson was well known, Ian, for looking at genetics, looking at someone's father and saying, that's
Right.
what I'm getting in my 30s. And anybody that looks at Wayne Rooney's father can, it's not difficult to draw them around and say, oh, okay,
Where he's getting it from?
other than the hair transplant, right? And so it's funny. So Rooney has a problem with conditioning. It's a well-known problem. Ferguson's been very vocal about it. So this is about being smart. This is about saying, look, all the papers today are going with the news that he's being stripped of the England captaincy. He's just been losing the captaincy of his national team. He's going to get stripped of his captaincy at Manchester United because he can't get in the team. England don't play again until March. Where will Rooney be in March? This is about saving his football career at the highest level.
Don't you think that he's lost his captaincy already at England just because of performances and what's happening with his club team? It looks like it's already happening regardless of this drinking incident.
I have to disagree. I don't think Southgate would have taken it off him.
Really?
Now, I do think he would have got dropped eventually because at some point, if he's not playing, and I'm sure Rooney would have taken this into consideration. Come December, January's around the corner. If I'm not getting in this Manchester United team, I'm going to have to move. And what it will do is it's going to scare the life out of teams like LA that live in these high temptation cities. Wayne Rooney,
they're calling him.
Now, just to finish this, if Wayne Rooney, this is probably a connection that shouldn't be made. If Wayne Rooney has challenges with alcohol, I sincerely hope that's not the case. I sincerely hope, and if it is, I would look at this incident totally differently.
Listen, I'm with you. I know we've got to move on, but I'm going to finish with this one. When I was playing in Germany, the coach always told us before games, we used to travel away from on the road, and he would always say to the team, everybody in the bar the night before a game, we're all having a pint or two and in bed. So we'd have 1 pint, 2 pints, and then the coach would let most of the young boys go to bed, but the rest of us, if we wanted to, we could have another pint. 3 pints before the game, that's fine. After the game, we'd all go out. We'd all have a great time. We'd all have the opportunity to switch off. We needed it because the pressure was on us so much, whether we won or lost. We were out and enjoying ourselves and putting that smile on our face. I took it one step further when I was at St. Pauli. Sometimes I used to go out 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, get a taxi straight to the training grounds, get on the training field, and the coach would come up and go, "How was the night out?" That's it. It was great. And he'd say, "As long as you perform, you keep enjoying yourself." And that's all that mattered to these guys. That's the old generation. This generation, they can't afford to do that because they are trained so hard. The technique is so good. The speed of the game is so much quicker. The level of skill is so much better than it has ever been before. The players can't afford to. It's a younger generation now. There's too much money at stake. They don't have the opportunity to do things like that because if you're out until 6 o'clock in the morning, midweek before a training session, you're fined thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars or wherever you are, euros. And that's what happens with what we're seeing right now in today's game. So, listen, I feel sorry for Wayne Rooney. A lot's been thrown at him right now with the England team. A lot's been thrown at him with Mourinho and Manchester United and his performances on the field. But let's not forget what a talent he was. He was in his prime, like you said in the first show, 24, 25 years old. He's now way past that. So let's look forward to the next step for Wayne Rooney, and hopefully it's a good one.
With 18-19, he was, to me, up to Ronaldo, sensational football player. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about, of course, Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund this weekend.
Yep.
You're the Bundesliga expert. It's all yours.
Yeah, looking forward to this one, Phil. This is a big game because we have a huge show going on Fox. It's going to be a big show for us, a big opportunity for us to be able to showcase this game on the network, which is great. It's Bart Simpson Network Fox, which for us is the highest level possible. So we're really excited for that. It's a real shame that Borussia Dortmund are not in a better position in the league. They are struggling a little bit with consistency, even though I still find them one of the more entertaining teams in European game right now to watch. We have a good opportunity to see this Borussia Dortmund side upset Bayern Munich when everything's turning against Bayern Munich. The performances recently hasn't been great. under Ancelotti. They haven't got the results they wanted. They've allowed Red Bull Salzburg, or Leipzig, should I say, Rasenball Sport Leipzig, to get back up into the table. And right now, Leipzig are equal on points with Bayern Munich. So they play on Friday against Leverkusen. If they win that game or get a point, they're top of the table before then Bayern travel to Borussia Dortmund at the weekend. So it makes their Klassiker a big game to look forward to. Dortmund are unbeaten in 26 at home.
At home. Bayern are undefeated in their last 20 Bundesliga. What are you talking about? There's been some different performances from Ancelotti. What sort of standards are you on?
It's been a while since they've won a game, right? They've really struggled to win their games. That's the biggest problems. They've not been consistent winning games. I would even go as far, Phil, as to say that Bayern Munich are nowhere near the top level that they can produce right now. Their performances haven't been up to scratch. We've also saw that in the Champions League. It hasn't been up to scratch. So for me, I don't think Ancelotti's got a full grip on this team just yet. They're going to run away with the league domestically. There's no doubt in my mind they'll run away with that league domestically. But against Borussia Dortmund, 26 unbeaten at the Westfalenstadion, 80,000 fans going up against you. Hummels is back in Dortmund. I think Mario Götze playing against Bayern Munich will be fantastic to watch. Aubameyang, big game. I think, and I'm going to say it right here, that Borussia Dortmund will win that game because they are, at this moment in time, unpredictable. Unpredictable.
Dortmund have one win in their last 5. Right?
Yeah, how many wins have Bayern Munich got in there?
Tuchel started the last time Bayern Munich won a match, 29th of October against Augsburg. Bear in mind, we've had the international break. They had a draw after that.
You're not getting the international break. Give me a break about that. That was the last time they won, right? It's a long time for a club like Bayern Munich. They did win in the Champions League, right? Then they went against PSV in the Champions League.
They've conceded 6 goals all season in 10 games. They have 7 wins, 3 draws, 24 for, 6 against. They sound like they're struggling, mate.
They've scored in every game this season. The last 19 Bundesliga games Bayern have scored. But I'll tell you now, Phil, this is one. You mark my words. When we do a review of what's happening this weekend, I think Borussia Dortmund will get you ahead of your first.
You're taking Dortmund to beat Bayern at home?
Yes. I'm taking Borussia Dortmund to beat Bayern Munich at the Westfalen. Yes. And I'll even go as far as to give you a prediction on the scoreline. I think it will be 3-1 to Borussia Dortmund.
Okay.
Bayern will still score a goal because they're too good.
All right. You want to put money on that? Not that photocopied money stuff. The real dollars.
Euros?
Right? Listen.
What are you going for?
This is being recorded, so no backing out. Bayern Munich will beat Borussia Dortmund in Dortmund 2-0. 2-0 or 2-1. I'll tell you what, Dortmund might get a goal, but I'll take 2-1. But there's no way they'll win it.
So you're saying that Borussia Dortmund will lose for the first time in 27 games in the Bundesliga at home against Bayern Munich this time?
Yes, I think they'll go there and beat them. I think.
Game on. I love this. Brilliant.
I think again. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here on my fancy machine. Thiago tip to dominate their Klassiker. I'll take that. 2-1, easy Sounds money. Good. And taking money off a Scotch man is not easy, but it's on video. So there's no backing out. Okay, what have we got next? We've got Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, injury hit Real Madrid. Recent record in the Madrid derby is such. Real Madrid 0, Atletico Madrid 1 each, 4-0 Atletico Madrid, 2-1 Atletico Madrid, 2 each, 1-0 Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid have been magnificent against them in the derbies.
Yeah, Simeone is quite incredible. What he's done at Atletico Madrid has been outstanding since his time on the sidelines. I think he's the next big one. Obviously, refusing to sign an extension to his contract there tells everybody that he could be on his way. Rumour has it that he is possibly on his way to Inter Milan because they're looking for a stopgap head coach, which they've just got for the next 2 years until Simeone is free off his contract. So that's one to keep an eye on. I'm sure we'll break news with that one over the next couple of years. But he is certainly going to be at some stage the most sought after head coach because of the job he's done at Atletico Madrid, and especially in big games. In the derby game, he's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
He manages to get his team right. He manages to get his formation right, his tactics right, his set plays. This is a game that I will absolutely be watching because I know that it's always an entertaining game. We know that Real Madrid are very good on the road. I think it's 16 games away from home that they have not lost. But this brings a different animal, especially with Atletico at home in the derby. I just don't see them losing that game. I am going to say that it will be a draw because Real Madrid, even though they have a lot of injury problems right now, still find a way to score goals. They've got quality talent inside their squad. So I'm saying in my prediction right here that it will be a boring potential 2-2 game. Have you ever seen a boring 2-2 game?
Yeah. When you look at these results between these two teams,
Yeah.
with the exception of this 4-0, it is relatively low scoring games.
Right.
Very, very tight. And I think that's the Atletico Madrid's credit, because for Atletico Madrid to win the game, they have to shut it down. Obviously, if they leave an open game against Real Madrid, man for man, Real Madrid are the better team. But I worry for Atletico Madrid if Simeone leaves, because I think so much about what they do is
Yeah.
dramatic overachieving with the way he
Yeah,
buys, with the
I
way
don't
those
think
players
so
will go
much,
through.
Phil. I think you'd have to say everything that they're doing is down to him. Not, I mean, the players they've got are very good. They are class players, but they're not a team that you would expect under a different coach to
That's what
do
I'm saying.
fantastically well.
Yeah,
Certainly not get the results they have got. That's for
I
sure.
completely agree, and I doubt that a lot of those players will stay once he
Yeah.
goes. Now, Atletico Madrid have a bit of Chinese money there, so maybe that's going to change things a bit. But
Right.
you know, I'm going to say I fancy Simeone to make sure that Atletico Madrid don't lose that game. They haven't had the best of starts. They're
Yeah.
sitting on 21 points. Um, Defensively sound. With Real Madrid's injuries, I'm going to take Atletico Madrid to win it, because I think Atletico Madrid have more cojones than Real Madrid. Real Madrid,
Hmm.
excellent team. Obviously, we know their strength. They're not difficult to predict, but I think
Sure.
if Real Madrid could take Atletico Madrid's work ethic, where these players will go through a brick wall for their manager,
Right.
um, Real Madrid would win the Champions League, would do another five in a row.
But we are starting to see that under Zidane, though. We're starting to see these players really play for him. Even though there's a lot of egos in that dressing room, we're seeing new contracts being handed out to the top stars, right? Gareth Bale, new contract. Cristiano Ronaldo, new contract. Even though possibly he's getting past the best of what we've seen from Cristiano, I think he might be just reaching the eclipse and on the way down in his career. You can never ever underestimate what he can do in any game. So, I'm with you. I think it's going to be an interesting one for Atletico. I think there are 6 games undefeated in that game in the derby, and 22 at home without defeat. So Atletico is a good bet for you.
I'd fancy we move to Spain. I don't fancy paying taxes for a few years. If any opportunities come up, I'll be on my way. So I'm
Are
gonna
you paying
go.
taxes now?
No chance. See, don't even.
Hey,
Country
be
doesn't
careful.
even. People don't even know I'm here.
It'd be Chris. I'll have you out.
You have to make money to pay taxes. Whenever you start paying me, maybe I'll pay tax on this bet that I'm about to clean you out on. So, so what's your prediction for this
2-2.
match?
I'm saying 2-2
Two
draw. I
two.
don't see Atletico losing. I don't see Real Madrid struggling in this game. I think it will be an entertaining matchup. I did say boring before, but I was obviously being sarcastic. 2-2, exciting game, great derby. I think there'll be a couple of red cards in this game as well.
2-1 again, Atletico Madrid.
Love it.
Atletico Madrid will beat Real Madrid. Okay, so what have we got next? United Arsenal.
Yeah, we can go United Arsenal, or we can turn our attention before we get to United Arsenal in the game on Sunday, which is the Milan derby. AC
Oh yeah,
Milan taking
yeah.
on Inter Milan.
I'll go with
Let's
first
talk
one
about
away.
that one first and leave United till last, because I know you're very passionate about that, and you'll probably forget that we've still got the Milan game to
I
come
wonder
up.
what
So,
I'll predict in the United Arsenal game. You'll never know. Go ahead. So Serie A,
right,
Inter
one of my favorite
Milan.
leagues.
You know, I think with the Chinese money that's coming into Serie A,
Yeah,
it, magnificent league with great history, and
yeah,
anybody that says it's not entertaining to watch just doesn't watch football, and they're going off old cliches. I think if you look at this league, if they get Chinese money
yep,
and they start competing at the high end of the market,
right,
English Premier League are in trouble, because Latin players will go to Italy and they'll go to Spain before they'll go to England, and if they have
right,
the choice of going to these clubs on an equal pay packet of going to England, England is in trouble. AC Milan, 7-time European Cup winners. Inter Milan, a total
Amazing.
mess. Can't believe they sacked Frank de Boer already. What were
No, I
they
know.
expecting with Frank de Boer? You have to give the man a chance.
Yeah, yeah.
But AC Milan, Inter Milan, Inter Juventus is the Italian derby. What AC Milan, Inter, AC Milan have made a decent start, sitting there third place. What's your take on them so far?
On AC Milan,
Mm-hmm.
um, from my heart, I have a soft spot for AC Milan. Like you, I have a real soft spot for Serie A. I always believed that it was one of the biggest leagues in the world, especially when I was growing up. It was the most entertaining league in the world to watch before the Premier League really took off, and it was one that I watched week in and week out on Gazzetta Football Italia. And back in the day
Yeah.
when Rudula and Van Basten and George Weah played there, it just blew me away. So I have a soft spot for Milan, and I always will do. They're in some decent form right now. I think it's 7 wins out of the last 9 games. Tells me that they're in good form going into it. I haven't caught as many games as I would have liked to have done this season, obviously, with my commitments with the Bundesliga and Fox. But I certainly will not be missing this game. It's always a cracking matchup against Inter. I like what Milan have got growing right now. They're an exciting team. They're a young team. I think AC Milan are the youngest average starting formation lineup in Serie A this season, which is quite incredible. I think it's 25 years and like 277 days to be exact. It's crazy. They're a young team. And the reason they're young is because they've spent a lot of money in their youth development. They've had a lot of former players. Inzaghi, so to say, a couple of years ago, before he took over the first team job, was working with the youth team. Maldini's kid's been there. So a lot of money and attention's been spent on the youth generation. So it's great to see a lot of these young kids getting an opportunity in the first team. Donnarumma, we know, is a quality goalkeeper. Is big boy, big future, has a beautiful girlfriend, ugly man. Ugly man. He's one of the ugliest Italians I've seen for a long time. But I will
That's
say,
something you don't often see, by the way.
an ugly Italian,
Bit of
no.
Italian blood myself. Well,
Speaking of ugly Italians, I don't know if you've seen Christian Vieri the other day there. He was on beIN Sports wearing the dodgiest suit in the world. He had a blue suit on with a flower shirt. And I texted him and I said, you look very thin, Christian. You look like you've been working out, but what the are you wearing? That is just shocking. And he joked,
for
sometimes you got to mix it up and wear a flowery shirt, I say.
considering how many times you've been in court, it's just shocking that would be the biggest, weirdest suit you've ever seen, boy. Um,
I'm going for AC Milan. Inter Milan in shambles. They've got a new boss in charge right now, Pioli. Like I said, he's a stopgap coach for the next couple of years, potentially until Simeone comes. So Inter Milan are in shambles. There's a lot more pressure on them to get a result in this game. Most of their goals come through Icardi. I think it's 81% either 10 goals and 3 assists he's had this season, which is just mind-blowing. And this is a player who's had a fallout with his own fans at Inter at the Giuseppe Meazza. So for me, Inter is in shambles right now. The only thing that they've got going for them that a win in this game could potentially turn their season around, and it would definitely help Pioli if he did get a good result in this matchup, because immediately you get the support from the fans, you get the backing from everybody who owns the club. We know they've got a bit of money in that club now, so Inter Milan will be there in the derby ready to go. But AC Milan in the form that they're in right now, I don't see them losing this game. I think they're going to win it, and I'm going to say by a small score line of 2-0.
being heavily linked with Daniel Sturridge as well.
I did see that, yeah. Interested one, that.
AC Milan. A telling statistic for me, AC Milan being drawn at half-time, winning at full-time in the last 3 matches. That tells you
All right.
Montella is having an impact on at half-time.
No.
One of the things that used to drive me nuts about Van Gaal is you would never see a change second half. And I used to wonder, what is he doing in the dressing room that doesn't get a reaction, right? So clearly Montella is able to generate a reaction from his players that's positive, which means shows they're buying into what he's doing. You look back at Milan a couple of years ago, they were very old, and now you've got the reverse happening, bringing in young players, investing in youth, giving youth a chance, and that's what they had to do. And they've let some really, really good players go from the Primavera team. I mean, Darmian was a Milan graduate. I mean, they've let a number of good young players go, and so the right thing to do is to give these kids a chance. The unfortunate thing about Milan is none of these managers were given any time to play kids. I mean, there were a
Yeah,
couple of months. Berlusconi was sacking him. Then you had this ridiculous Mr. B situation going on. Will he buy Milan? Will he not? And
yeah,
so Milan is still a legendary football club. Luis Adriano is on his way out there. Looks like he's going to go back to Ukraine in
yeah,
Russia, CSK Moscow,
yeah.
in January. But it's a Milan team that have been shocking for years. Really never recovered since they got rid of Allegri, and Allegri was someone they did not like. Milan fans
Yeah, the
did
fans
not
didn't like
like
him.
him. No,
His results there were actually pretty well. He was reasonably successful.
especially when you consider where they are now. And in his
Right,
last season, he wanted to stay on the end of the season, and that's never a good idea. Once a
right.
manager announces he's leaving, players switch off mentally. They're
Just think
not.
of the players he lost. Just as he got there, the players
Yeah,
that left Milan, that old golden generation of players that they had spent so much money on,
yeah,
the Zlatans all left. I mean, it was just unbelievable to see that big name culture walking out the door. Italian football's lost its groove, or at least it did lose its groove to be able to attract the biggest names in the game. The money disappeared. The
Calciopoli.
fans the fans didn't turn up anymore because the ticket prices were too high. And then you turn on to watch it on TV because every game was on TV in Italy. You have empty stadiums, or at least half full stadiums, except for possibly Juventus Stadium where everybody goes. The rest of the games are half full stadiums and poor fields, poor product on the field. There wasn't enough salaries being paid to these players. So I think they're turning a corner. There's more investment going into the
Yeah.
Italian game, and hopefully they do turn the corner, Phil, because I really do enjoy watching Italian football. Get back to those old generation games.
Look, I'm obviously younger than you are, but we still
You're
grew
not
up
better
on
looking.
it. Well,
Certainly not better looking.
your camera is
Might be
not
younger.
working. Your camera is not working. Listen, the Italian football, seriously, we grew up on when it was the strongest league in Europe. Uh, when I look down, when I look at teams like Napoli, fanatical support, Juventus, fanatical support, Roma, fanatical support,
Yeah.
Milan clubs, fanatical support, Lazio, all these teams that are big football clubs were playing in these dilapidated stadiums that were falling apart, that were not owned by the clubs, that were owned by the city. Juventus were
Yeah.
the first club to turn around. I correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but one of the first clubs
No, they
to
are.
have a football only stadium,
Yeah.
and it was they got away from the Stadio delle Alpi. They got this closed-in stadium that has a terrific atmosphere, and
Yeah.
it looks like a
Smaller
football.
capacity
Yeah,
as well, which made it better.
yeah, it looks like a football stadium. You're not seeing these big cavernous holes all over the stadium,
Yeah.
and you know, I think Italian football obviously suffered from calciopoli. It suffered from some of the corruption involved. And
Right.
then when you've got clubs like Parma, a top-flight football club that can't pay its players,
Yeah.
something's seriously wrong. But
It's terrible. Yeah.
AC Milan and Milan, this is a better fixture today than what it was 3 years ago. It still
I'm
had
with you on that.
all the history, but now
Yeah.
we've got better players. Inter Milan are still a mess, but you can see that when you're trying to fast track success and you're not
Yeah.
willing to put step by step by step. Inter Milan's still a massive football club, so they demand success, but
Yeah.
success doesn't come easy, and there's so many different steps, and clubs don't want to take them. They just want to buy and make it happen fast. That's what
Yeah.
Inter Milan are doing. They're trying to bring in some enormous amount of players. Mancini brought in all those players.
Yeah, it was
Didn't
ridiculous.
work.
They spent a load of money. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they get hit with FFP because they were trying to finance their way into the Champions League. Didn't
Yeah.
happen. Had to let all Shaqiri, the whole shebang go, and
Yeah.
some of this has happened at United. You're trying to fast track success, and it
Yeah.
just
It
doesn't
doesn't
happen.
happen.
No.
No. All right. So that aside, what are you going for?
Um, I would say I'm going to say Milan will beat Inter Milan at home because Inter are a shambles, and you could never take them to win any football match at the minute. And so I'm going to say AC Milan will win this 1-0 at home.
All right. 1-0 at home. I say 2-1 at home. I think this is the first time ever we've agreed on the show. We're in our
No, 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 no,
second
no.
second episode of the new generation of BTP, and we've agreed on something finally
No,
that
no.
Milan will win this
We
game.
agreed I'm younger and better looking 5 minutes ago. So,
All right, let me turn now this attention
yes.
to the big one. I know you've been waiting to talk about
Big
this
one.
one. You've been texting me all day long about the matchup. You're looking forward to it. In the Premier League, it's a game that has incredible history behind it, with the problems of the two coaches, the Arsene Wenger's, the Sir Alex Ferguson, the battle with the players, the history between that battle, the Roy Keane battles with Patrick Vieira, what we've seen from Ruud van Nistelrooy, and inside that box with Martin Keown jumping all over him. I mean, the history is just
Horrific
phenomenal.
behaviour from Arsenal.
It was
Horrific.
always great to watch this game. I will tell you, it was one you never wanted to miss, and this is one that you certainly do not want to miss. It's an early start on the West Coast this weekend to watch this game, but I can promise you that pretty much everybody who's a football lover will get up and watch this game. Man United against Arsenal. The form that they're in right now, I think it's 6 points between the two teams at the moment.
That's possible, but I am not looking at the Premier League table. I think that's about
Get your
right.
table up then and sort it out, because I want to know exactly
Hold
what
on.
you think about Manchester United's chances against Arsenal. I know right now
The table doesn't matter when you're talking about
it does
United's
matter.
chances at Arsenal. Listen, Ian, Arsenal could be in the league by themselves and still finish fourth. Right? This is a football club. Arsenal are fourth.
Fourth. How many points? Tell me the
Talk
point.
about muscle memory. Right? That's a football club that is built to finish fourth, top to bottom. And the
I think
only
they're
way.
happy with it.
What's that?
They're happy to finish fourth
Ah,
in the
it's the
table
whole
as well.
objective. It's a business. Manchester United are a business too, but
Where are
uh,
United right now? How many points behind?
United are sixth, right?
What's it?
And
6 points?
they're 6 points behind. Thank God for our calculators. But hang on a minute here, because let's get this into perspective here.
Right.
Arsenal are a football club that, how long's Arsene Wenger been there?
I think it's 20. I must be close to
All right,
30 time. All
there
right. 20,
thereabouts.
20 years.
He's been there since '96, I believe.
All right.
Been there a long, long time. 20
Since
years.
20, yeah.
20 years. 21 years.
Unbelievable.
So long, yeah. Arsenal, given Wenger's been there the longest, he's look at the top six. Liverpool, Klopp's been there a year and a half. Conte, he's been there a few months. Guardiola, few months. United, Mitchell Pochettino at Tottenham has
Yeah.
been there, what, year and a half, 2 years. Mourinho
Right.
just there. Arsenal should be walking the league in. Arsenal should be. They've had consistency. They've had the same manager who knows the football club top to bottom, had time to buy, time to prepare, know his players. All those
Right.
managers that I just rammed off, the vast majority of them had 2-3 weeks to get to know their players. This is who I got. I've got to prepare managing a different club at Guardiola. Mourinho's had to essentially prepare for this season on the outside, with whilst United are losing players like Renato Sanchez to still keep Van Gaal happy, which
Yeah.
is unbelievable. And there's 6 points separating these two teams. Now, I know it's only 11 games. If United beat Arsenal on Sunday, there's 3 points separating these two teams.
Should you
There
not be
should-
giving United a bit more credit, though?
Listen, when Manchester United hired Jose Mourinho, they fitted the profile of a football club that hired Jose Mourinho. A football club that, massive club, that hasn't had success in the last few years, willing to sacrifice principles. You
Right.
bring in Mourinho because you know he brings success. Even if Mourinho fails, he's the right guy for the job. Who else were they going to give that job to after sacking Van Gaal that came with that type of guarantee? Nobody.
Right.
And what Mourinho's, the job that he has to do at United is so big, because
Yeah.
the problems that he has inside that dressing room are inherited from David Moyes, from Van Gaal, from Ferguson neglecting the team. Ferguson would have retired if Sergio Aguero didn't score 2 years
Right.
before he actually did, and he didn't want to go out like that.
Yeah.
And he was preparing for retirement. So you've essentially got 3 years of atrocious recruitment. Atrocious. And
Yeah.
so Mourinho has to get that out. He has no culture inside that dressing room of win at all costs. Look what his captain just did, what we opened up this show talking about. There's no leaders. This was a game that when United played Arsenal, I was so confident. I was more confident in United beating Arsenal than almost any other team in the league, because what you knew you were going to get with Arsenal was a bunch of preening bottlers, right? I'm not heading that corner because I don't want to ruin my hair gel. right? And you knew you had them in the bag. Now United have what Arsenal have. Same problem, right?
Right.
Because there are no leaders
And
that
is it
put a.
different Arsenal, or are you still saying it's the same Arsenal? I mean, it
No, no,
seems to me
no,
like it's a younger generation
no.
Arsenal as
Same
well, right?
Arsenal. Same Arsenal.
Same
But
old gel slick haired Arsenal.
same, right? Listen, like I said, right? Um, I swear, with Arsenal, the second half of the season,
Yeah.
you could change your shorts to Pampers, right? Because when you have expectation on this Arsenal team, they'll fill their pants. Simple as
Right.
that. United now have the same problem as Arsenal. Arsenal haven't changed. United changed.
Right.
United now have the same issues of not having players that are. Luke Shaw, oh boss, I'm feeling a little tweak in my hamstring. I don't want to play today. That's Arsenal, right? That's what you have to put up with. Put
Right.
Arsenal. Listen. This is one of the biggest football clubs in the world. Enormous budget, and
Mm.
in the Champions League, they're not relevant. You know they're going to go out in quarterfinals. Thereabouts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's about it. You
You
know,
almost don't want to face them in the Champions League, but at some stage, you know they're going to fall out, right?
yeah. You know
Are
that
they-
you know they're going to go out. You
Yeah.
know as soon as they come up against a good team, a Bayern Munich, or Real Madrid, or anybody, a real team,
Yeah.
they're going to
Yeah.
go out. Simple as that. And it's always the same way. They get murdered in the first leg, and then you get a decent performance in the second leg away
Right.
from
Yeah.
home, where there's no expectation anymore.
Right.
This is what you get with them. So would it shock me if Mourinho gets a performance out of United team, because he's going to be desperate? Arsenal haven't won at Old Trafford in 10 years.
Yeah.
Wenger's never beaten Mourinho in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Mourinho will be desperate to not lose that game. And make no mistake about it, the players that they play for him in this game will be a mix of players that he trusts and
Yeah.
players that he's sending them before the game. If you want to get my trust, this is where you earn it. I expect Mourinho will go with a very similar team that played against Swansea,
Yeah.
an experienced team. Not a lot of young youth in that team, and it'd be interesting to see what happens with Rooney. But I expect him to go with an experienced team, and very, very similar to what we saw with Swansea. First of all, they won their last game, but those were players Mourinho has somewhat of trust in. He doesn't trust.
Right.
Ian, people always say he doesn't know his best 11. If you ask most managers, do they know their best
They know
11?
Of course. Yeah.
They know their best 7 or 8, right?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
there's always 2 or 3 places, maybe 1 or 2 places in a team
Right.
every week it's
Bench
up for
players.
grabs,
Right.
and then it somewhat depends on who you're playing, right? So Mourinho doesn't know his best 5 or 6 yet.
Right.
Simple as that. And so, and some of that is about people who he can trust that will carry out his instructions to the ladder on the pitch. Every great team mirrors their manager.
Yeah.
United don't mirror Mourinho yet. So it's a great time for Arsenal to play United, because United are still a long way off what Mourinho will turn them into.
Yeah.
But the issue with Arsenal is always mentality. Alexis Sanchez is coming back with a hamstring injury. Not sure if
Yeah.
he'll play or not.
Don't
But
you find it crazy that these big matchups, and we've talking some
yeah,
4 of the biggest European games, are happening after an international break? I mean, this is such a big game in the Premier League that you get these players coming back, some of them, including Alexis Sanchez, traveling half the world away
yeah,
to get back to this matchup. They're playing 4 days after they've just represented their country. I find it crazy. Listen, I love the passion from you on Manchester United, especially the talk about Jose Mourinho and the stories behind this matchup right now. It's completely different from what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's a different game, different generation, new teams, new coaches. Obviously, Wenger's still there, but new backing behind these clubs. Same old Arsenal, you think. Manchester United is
yeah,
completely different. I love the stories, though. Jose Mourinho against Arsene Wenger, never losing that, what you just mentioned. That, for me, is phenomenal. That's a great achievement for any coach,
yeah,
especially since Wenger has so much success in the Premier League. I love that Manchester United have lost only once, I think it is, in the last 10 meetings against Arsenal. So history's certainly on their side in the Premier League, which is great. But then, also, you mentioned it, 10 years ago was the last time that Arsenal won at Old Trafford. So the stories are there, all behind this matchup. What are you going with?
I'm going to take United to beat them, because
Why
I
are you
always,
taking United? Tell me.
couple of reasons. I always fancy United at home to Arsenal. I
Yeah.
think, like I said, you'll send Arsenal players out with Pampers if United start the game right with the right intensity, the
Yeah.
right. United will win this game in the first 20 minutes, um, but not with the same confidence that I had before because that's a very beatable Manchester United team.
Right.
Just to finish up, I was listening to Wenger talking to Jeff Shreves today about this, about one of the biggest problems you have after an international break is refocusing players onto your
Yeah.
objectives. I wonder about his focus because I don't care what he tells you. Jose Mourinho is a factor in his thinking.
Yeah.
He hates
It
Mourinho,
has to be.
right?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be human if it wasn't.
Yeah.
And he will be that desperation to beat Mourinho, to shove it up him, to do it in his own backyard.
Yeah.
That will all play a part in if someone's carrying a slight tweak. You know what? I'm so desperate to beat him, you don't play.
Mm.
Or the opposite. I'm so desperate to beat him, I'm taking a risk. All that, well, Wenger's a human, and I think that that will play a part in his thinking.
Give me
I
your
th-
score.
I think United will beat them 2-0, 2 or 3-0. It'll be a comfortable victory.
2 or 3 nil
Yeah,
against Arsenal
yeah.
in this stage in the Premier League, being 6 points behind them in the table is quite a statement to make. Listen, I love United, obviously. For many of your followers who
Don't you
are
do
new
it?
to me across
Don't.
the world know that United is in my heart. And my grandfather used to sell programs at Old Trafford. I went to their schoolboy system before I started my professional career. So United has always been my team in the Premier League, and I have a great love for them. Um, I think that Jose Mourinho right now is building something, and we have to be patient with that. This is just yet another step in the right
Of
direction for
course.
United if he was to get a positive result against Arsenal. For the fans and everybody watching in, this is the biggest game. This is one of the games that you want to watch. You don't want to miss it because anything can happen in this game. Fireworks can go off left, right, and centre. Maybe we don't see the passion that we used to see 10 years ago with the battles in midfield, with the Scholesies and Kinos against Vieira. You know what I mean? Those were the battles I just love in this game. It was just brilliant. But it's a
Now
different
they just
generation.
block each other on Twitter.
Oh, did they?
No, they just block each other on Twitter instead
Oh,
of instead of
they
throwing
just tweet
pizzas
each
at each
other.
other. And
I'd love it.
yeah.
I think that Arsene Wenger has got a really exciting Arsenal side. I really like what he's got, but you mentioned it, inconsistent. They just, you don't know what you're going to get. One week it's phenomenal, they can be any team in Europe, and the next week they can't even win against Swansea or whoever it is in the Premier League. They struggle against some of the teams in the Premier League on poor games, poor performances. I don't know what Arsenal we're going to get, but I do know that Mourinho going into matches like this, what we saw previously in big games, has been a very good Mourinho. He's been a very well organised, maybe a little bit scared, and that fear factor of losing games going into big matches. So I see him going a little bit more cautiously up against Arsenal and worried about what Wenger's going to bring, the exciting talent, the speed, the energy that Arsenal bring. I don't think that you will see the first 20, 30 minutes where United will come out and score a goal or two. I really don't believe that we'll see that. I think it'll be a more cautious approach from United. But I'm still going with a United win. I'm with you. I think United win it, but it'll be a low score. It'll be a 1-0 game.
If he goes out with the cautious approach against Arsenal and
Yeah.
doesn't impose United's game on them and puts them on the back foot, you
Right.
play into their hands,
But
right?
you've seen it before, Phil, this season
Yeah,
from
I
United.
I
They've gone
know.
up. Was it Liverpool and Chelsea where
Yeah.
they went up against those teams, cautiously approaching these games? I'm thinking, like, why?
Away from home, away
Right.
from
Okay.
home,
That's the difference factor. Yeah.
and against Arsenal, there's a really simple way to always beat them. If you rattle Arsenal, you'll beat them
Yeah.
because they've no interest in physically mixing it, right? And if you give the likes of Ozil, Sanchez, those players time and sit back, they're going to pick you off, and
Yeah.
you're playing into their hands. They don't want to defend. Those players don't like defending. When if United don't impose themselves on that game and let Arsenal get confidence in the game
Yeah.
and grow into it, Arsenal will win that game. If United start right, first 20 minutes, and put them on the back foot and score,
Yeah.
then the doubt will creep in, and the game's there for United. So,
All right. Who has the game for United that you think? Who's going to be the man of the match? Who's going to be the difference maker in that match? You're saying 2 goals, potentially 3 goals in this game for United, 0 for Arsenal. Who's the one that's going to be man of the match, the top performer in that game for United?
I'm going to say Ibrahimovic. I'm going to say Ibrahimovic will get a couple of goals against Arsenal. I think his goals against Swansea, as poor as they were,
Yeah,
will give him enormous confidence. I think the fact that he hasn't played the last 2 weeks helps a
great.
big man like him.
Yeah.
Goes into a game where United are going to give him service, he'll score.
I agree with you. I think Ibrahimovic does get a goal. Even though I just said 1-0, I think that he's the one who gets the goal. United win that game. It's great to see that United going up against Arsenal, anything can happen in this matchup, whereas before it was potential fireworks. Now we don't really know what the result's going to be or who's going to win this game. I mean, I don't see the fireworks that we have seen before in the history of these teams happening this weekend. I think it's going to be a lot more softer between the two sides. But I just don't see. I don't see a lot of goals in this game, and I don't know why. That's what
Well,
disappoints me.
just my final thoughts on Arsenal. They do the same thing every year. You get a period of Arsenal, maybe from 3 or 4 months in the middle of the season, where they look sensational, where they
Yeah.
batter everybody and they play magnificent football.
You must have a soft spot, Phil, for Arsenal and what they've done. I mean, I know they're a number
What
four
have they
team.
done?
They're a
They've
Champions
won
League
one.
side.
Arsene Wenger in the last 10 years has won one more
FA
FA
Cups.
Cup than Wigan.
All right, FA Cups. There you go. But
One more
let's say
FA Cup than Wigan, and look how much
they're
he
in the
spent. He
Champions League
spent more than
every
Chapo Guzman.
single year, Phil. And this is a business that he's running. This is the right man for their business. He
Ian,
seems to be able to get a squad of players together that can compete with some of the best teams in Europe. Yes, they may not consistently go out there and get past the quarterfinals of the Champions League, but against Arsenal in the Premier League, on any given day, you could lose to them.
no question, any given day. But that's not the mark of a great team. Listen, on any single event, anybody can beat anybody. But the mark of a great team over 38 games, it will tell you everything and it will show you every strength, every weakness you have in your football club.
Yeah,
Leicester City won the league last year for things that Arsenal should have had. The
yeah,
consistency. Wenger's had years to build this.
yeah.
And so when they weren't spending under the stadium, I give him enormous respect because I'm like, this is Everton. This is
Yeah,
because a big football club with no money to
yeah.
spend, and somehow he's keeping them in the top four. That's not an
Right.
excuse anymore, and he's going to have to every year. Wenger makes mistakes in how he recruits, waits too long, deliberates, then decides, panics the last couple of weeks, decides he's going to start banning players. That's no way to prepare. The players should be bought. When you're there that long at a football club, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know what you need. They should be sitting down in January saying, "We know what we need for the summer," and
Right.
they'll know, and move on it quickly. Mourinho when he came in said, "We'll not be signing Pogba on the last day of the 31st of August. We want him in now." Right?
Right.
And he put
Yeah.
pressure on Woodward to make sure that get done.
Clear target. Yeah.
It's, yeah, Wenger doesn't do that, and so you can tell he's not comfortable buying players in the modern era. He doesn't like
You,
doing it.
Wait a minute. You said at the top of your preview of Arsenal against Manchester United that you thought that Arsenal should be sitting top of the Premier
So they
League. So
should,
that
no
tells me
question.
that you think that they've got the squad to do it, or they've got the
No,
coach
no,
to
no,
do
no,
it,
no,
or
no,
both. Why?
no, no,
Why are
no.
you saying that you think that they should be top of the league right now? Because everyone else is messing it up, or it's just so competitive? What is it that
All
makes
right.
you think that?
What I mean by that is Arsene Wenger has a massive advantage over all the other managers. He's been there longer. He knows the Premier League inside out. How well does Antonio Conte know the Premier League? How well does Pep Guardiola know the league? Look at this mess Mourinho walked into. Wenger's
Yeah.
had 20 years of preparation to know what it takes to win the Premier League. He should be miles ahead. That football club has had the stability, the consistency, and if Wenger is
Yeah.
incapable of doing that, then Arsenal need to ask the question why. Why are we failing every year? That wouldn't be acceptable at other clubs. He'd have been sacked at Chelsea, he'd have been sacked at United for that, he'd have been sacked at clubs that
Right.
gauge their success on winning trophies.
So isn't
Arsenal,
it isn't it the club's fault, not
nah,
Wenger's?
of course, Dan Kroenke looks at that football club as
Making millions.
finished top four. Also, I think they're a bit spooked by what happened with David Moyes in United and saying,
Right.
not necessarily smart to make a change. So that's my view on it.
All right. Before we go,
Yes.
give us some info on Manchester United right now, because I know you've been speaking to your people. What's going on around the club at this moment in time?
Well, I mean, look, obviously Mourinho has enormous issues with a couple of players.
Yeah.
Some of these players are really unhappy with the way Mourinho has handled the direct criticism of one or two players who have supposed mental health issues, and I'm not naming them and I'm not getting into it. We'll read
Sure.
Gordon Taylor's statement. So Mourinho is a very frustrated man right now in trying to overhaul what is going on inside the football club. Look, I spoke to Peter Schmeichel. You can listen to the interview on Kissway, and that was really
Yeah,
telling because Peter
great
Schmeichel turned,
interview, by the
yeah,
way. Fantastic interview.
well, he said in that interview, Ian, that United aren't good enough to finish top four. Now,
Yeah.
for a club ambassador to say something like that, who is usually very, very pro Manchester United, who's here working for the football club, and
Yeah.
said Mourinho still has too many players that he needs to get rid of, tells you what's going
Right.
on inside that dressing room. So he's got. I said in the analysis and preview, his job is so big at United. He's lacking a captain, a leader. He needs
Right.
that badly. So
Right.
whether he buys in January or not, I don't know. The Glazers have told him you have to sell to buy. They find it very difficult to move players out because they're on big money. They don't
Yeah.
want to go, and that tells you all about
Does
the
he deserve
individuals.
this criticism, Phil? Because what I see from Mourinho is the fact that he is basically a man who continues to get criticised from the media for every single performance that doesn't go well or doesn't get the result United get, or whenever Wayne Rooney makes a mistake like that, or whenever Paul Pogba doesn't have a good performance. It always comes back to Mourinho and the decisions he makes. I'm not sure I agree with all the criticism. And haven't we
No,
seen that before with Louis van Gaal? Haven't we seen it before with David Moyes? After Sir Alex left, Manchester United were in a situation where they were just a catastrophe and we didn't know what we were going to get from United. Now, you clearly know you've got a quality coach who can do the job, but give him time. Surely he has to get given
yeah,
time, and the
but
pressure has to be taken off of his shoulders from the media. They have to give him that space to do his magic.
you don't get a macro view of Manchester United. You get a micro view, so you get judged
Yeah.
day by day by day by every little decision that you make. So they judge him. He got this decision wrong, that decision wrong. Very rarely do the press step back and say this is part of a bigger agenda.
Yeah.
So I think Mourinho, he gets it. He's at United. He's been at Real Madrid. He understands how this works. And Manchester United are being judged against a history that's almost impossible to live up to. This is why Guardiola doesn't get the same criticism when he goes 6 games without
Correct.
winning. City don't have a history to judge him by. There's no
Mhm.
previous high standard of you've got to restore City back to what.
Mhm.
So Mourinho's living with that pressure, and it's a haunting pressure, and very few people can handle it. So
Yeah.
I'm confident that he's the right man.
All right, we did see just recently, and this is just before we get off here, some recent rumours with Steven Gerrard going back. It was officially confirmed from LA Galaxy. He's gone. Robbie Keane now confirming today he's
Yep.
now leaving LA Galaxy. But one story that broke today, the MK Dons were interested in appointing Steven Gerrard as their potential manager. Do you think that's a good move or not?
Brilliant move. Steven Gerrard, perfect move. Go to a lower league football club, cut your teeth, learn what you have to do to be a manager, be given the room to make the mistakes, and then
Yeah.
worry about Liverpool or wherever you want to go after that. That's exactly what you should be doing. That's exactly what top players should be doing instead of sulking because Ryan Giggs isn't getting a United job or other top players wanting that job right out of the gate as their first job. Go to the
Yeah.
lower leagues, learn the trade because it's a totally different trade than being a professional footballer.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think a lot of the big time players, the big experienced players who've had international careers and won Champions Leagues, always have a little bit of criticism coming their way when they drop down the leagues, and that necessarily, in my opinion, is unfair because these coaches, and you look at Steven Gerrard right now, he doesn't have an A license yet from UEFA. He's still got his B license. He's working towards his A license. So they're going after the name. They're going after the potential of Steven Gerrard being a successful coach. And I think it's the right thing to do. As a coach, it was never my thing to go straight into coaching or professional coaching as a former player. But I can see why players want to do it because you're around the team, you're around the game. There's that smell of the fresh cut grass on a Saturday that gets you excited for it, no matter what level you're at or what level you're coaching. I think Steven Gerrard is a guy who loves the game so much, and he has so much to offer on the sidelines. Not sure I could sit there and listen to one of his team talks in that Scouse high-pitched accent
No
for
doubt.
a long time, and I love Scousers. But Steven Gerrard, it'll be an interesting move for him if he does go into the managerial side of things. So, listen, I think we're close to wrapping up,
Yep.
but what I will say, this is just great to see, Phil. The fact that we're getting an opportunity to preview in our own frame and a stage and a platform where we can give our point of view and give our opinions is fantastic. But we do plan on having a lot of guests come along as the shows go on. We have an incredible list of guests that will be coming on the show, and hopefully when we do these preview shows going into great weekends, that we'll bring in some guests from time to time to be able to talk some of these games who are inside informations and obviously connected to clubs or leagues around the world where we can actually get some inside info from these guys. So there's
Yep.
a lot to look forward to.
That's all coming. So many exciting things coming in the next few weeks. Really, really excited where this is going. Kiss, we are getting behind us and supporting the show. You're going to see so many changes over the next few weeks, and we're really excited about what that brings. So, yes, superb stuff coming up, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for all your feedback, and you can hit
Keep them
myself
coming.
up. Yeah, hit us up on Beyond the Pitch on Twitter. Myself, Ian, keep them coming, and these are going to become more and more frequent with such a wide variety of other hosts, by the way, that are going to be broadcasting as well. So, thanks very
Yep.
much, everyone. Ciao.